Injury update. Derek Carrier has a high ankle sprain and a little bit of an Achilles. He'll be day-to-day. Dunbar has an open dislocation on his finger. He'll be day-to-day. Andre Roberts has knee inflammation. He'll be day-to-day. Chris Thompson sprained his AC joint. He came back in. He should be day-to-day.
Jay, after the game last night, a lot of your players made kind of a big deal of a closed-door, players-only meeting that Deshaun Goldson called on Saturday night. Were you aware of that? And what are your general thoughts on players? Can it have a unifying effect, and do you think it maybe was a catalyst against the Giants?
Well, I hope so. You know, I didn't know anything about it, no. I left after I said my piece about 8:30, 8:45, and then they had one after that, I guess. But you know, I think those are good for those guys to get together and air out their issues or what have you, or give their own motivational speeches to one another. I don't know the extent of it, but it sounded like it was beneficial.
A lot of guys talk about accountability and how that's kind of increased. Is there something that you have said, done, preached that has led to them understanding the importance of that this year?
Well, we try to preach it. We try to stand by our words, and starting from the very beginning of OTAs when the season begins, you know, about accountability to everything, meetings on time, weight room, training room, all that stuff. And for the most part, our guys have bought in, and we hold them to high standards around here, and they've done a good job overall.
Jordan Reed had some costly penalties early in the game, some big catches later in the game. Where is he at in his development just as far as becoming a well-rounded player?
Oh, he's coming along at a good rate. You know, you love him in the passing game. There are some things he does in the running game, which, you know, a couple of those calls were ticky-tack, so to speak, but he's just got to learn to get his hands inside and keep them in there and not pull jerseys. But overall, I think his you know, you can see what type of production he has. You know, he's a huge weapon for us on third down, first down, red zone. We can put him outside in the slot, in the core. He's done an excellent job for us, and he's continued to develop and get better as a pass catcher, route runner, and a run blocker.
Jay, as you said, I think last week, it's kind of stunning how great this team has looked at times and then how bad at other times. Now that you guys are in the driver's seat, how do you get consistency and get back-to-back wins going forward?
Well, it's important for us to try to search and figure out. You know, I think it's just a matter of continue to stay focused on the job at hand and the team at hand, and that's Dallas. Obviously, we have to put this game behind us, and like I said last night, you know, it was great to see us bounce back from a loss like Carolina, and then it's going to be equally as important how we bounce back from a big win against the Giants and playing a game against Dallas on Monday night. So I think our guys understand the importance and understand it. The only way you can go about this league is one game at a time and take your next opponent very seriously, and we will do that with Dallas, obviously.
Back to the injuries for a sec. You said Dunbar was going to go see a finger specialist. Is he going to have surgery of any type on that?
I don't think so, no. You know, I think we'll probably put a splint on it and see how we can play with that.
Back to that accountability, did you feel like that was something that was lacking last year? And if it's better this year, do you feel like some of those guys? Yeah.
It's never perfect. You know, there's going to be guys that are late from time to time. But I think the biggest thing is they understand that, you know, they are accountable for all their actions on and off the field. And we hold them to high standards. Scott, myself, Bruce, Dan Snyder, we all have, you know, high hopes for these guys and as people and as players. So when you're talking about playing the best players at each position, you have to stand to it. And I think for the most part, as a staff, we've done that. We've played the guys that deserve to play, and the guys who are playing are playing pretty well.
Back to Goldson calling that meeting, a lot of people have pointed at him as really being a leader on this team, being one of the few guys who can go call out a teammate or point out, hey, you need to pick it up here. Can you just talk about how much of a leader he has been in that locker room and how important it is to have a guy who can have that kind of voice?
Yeah, he's a veteran guy who's played a lot of football, and he right from day one when he got here, you could just see the leadership qualities that he had in meetings, speaking up and you know, making sure everybody's attentive and understanding the importance of each play and the concept of the defense we're trying to teach. It's great to have him. You know, a veteran guy who's been through a lot of things in his career, but he's also a guy that obviously can back it up with good, solid play and good work ethic. So it's one thing to be a vocal leader and veteran guy, but it's another thing to come out here and practice hard every day and be in meetings and be vocal and that's great. We have a couple other guys. Trent's starting to emerge as one of those guys, and I think we have a lot of leaders in this locker room, which is good.
Jay, why now to start putting Deshaun Jackson back in certain situations and punts, and what kind of, or how much will we see that more moving forward?
We'll see a little bit more of him. I think he's a great punt returner. I mean, historically he's not going to do it all the time, but to put him back there when they're backed up, we have a chance for a good return, I think is a smart thing to do. Crowder, nothing against Crowder, but Deshaun's very explosive back there and made some big plays in his career, and that's the only reason behind it. But we could see more. Depends on whether or not he wants to do it. But if he wants to do it, then we'll put him back there.
And then on kick returns, what went into mixing up the kick returners yesterday? Was it injury situation based off of, hands team, things like that? Why did, 3 kickoffs, 3 different guys wind up returning it?
Yeah, no, just a feeling back there that Ben had, and he wanted to get a look at him, put Chris back there on the onside kick return. We thought we might get an onside kick in that situation. And then, Andre had a big return against Carolina, and obviously Ross has had a kickoff return. They're all good at it, so, give them all a crack at it.
Since the Cowboys played on Thanksgiving and then it's a Monday night, they've got a lot of extra time to prepare. I think this is the 5th time this season you guys have played a team in that extra rest situation. Is there anything you look for? Is it any harder to prepare when you know you're getting a team that's maybe had that additional time to get ready for you?
Not really. I think we have all the games on tape. Obviously, we've played them, twice last year, and so they have a couple extra days of rest to get it some healing, I guess. But overall, it's not that big of an advantage. You usually give your team a couple days off. We're going to give our team an extra day off this week, so I think both teams will be well rested and ready to roll.
Go back to Jordan Reed, I guess. On some of those penalties, that's been a problem all year. I know you've had issues with some of the calls. How do you draw the line, I guess, between a call that maybe shouldn't have been made and a guy putting himself in position to get called for maybe one you don't agree with, but one that's going to
Yeah,
get
I
hit?
think, one of them was a takedown. They called a takedown. I think the guy was going to the ground, and Jordan fell on him. Another one, the back bounced outside, and he kind of just held him up just a little bit. I think it's just a matter of just continue to coach the fundamentals, and Wes is doing a great job of that and teaching them where his hands are, where they need to be, and how to finish blocks. So, those are going to happen from time to time at the tight end position when you're battling, and a lot of those plays when they get drawn out and they bounce outside late, and he's engaged, they might happen from time to time. We just got to keep working with his hands and where to place them and when to let go.
One of the things that Goldson talked about from the Saturday night meeting was him talking about Cousins becoming more of a leader, maybe even more of a vocal leader. How has he done in that regard from since you said it's Kirk's team until now? And how do you, kind of work with keeping a guy, you want him to be himself, but then you want him to maybe step out of his shell a little bit? Yeah,
I think as quarterbacks go, I think everybody has their own different, unique personality, and Kirk's, he's still finding his way. It's obviously it's his team, and we all know that right now, and he's still in the process of learning, basically studying what he wants to do and how to play the position. But the leadership stuff will come, and I think everybody looks up to him, the type of kid that he is, how hard he works. But as far as being a vocal leader, that may or may not be his style yet. He may grow into that type of role, but there's great ways to lead. You don't have to be a vocal leader or yell at people to lead. I think if you lead by example, by your work ethic and holding people to high standards, he's in good shape. He's doing a good job of that.
Jay, when you talk about taking each game, one week at a time, and whether or not you're playing better at home or better on the road or worse on the road, or what the playoff implications are, what does it actually take, though, to strip away all of that kind of outside and get the focus on where you want it?
That's it. We just have to focus. We have to have extreme focus on our next opponent, and we have to study the tape, prepare extremely hard, practice well, practice hard, practice fast, and get our minds ready to go for a Monday night game. And that's no way around it. That's the only way you can do it, is have consistent preparation and then hold these guys to high standards out here at practice, make sure they're working hard, and don't get too excited reading the paper. Don't pat yourself on the back over a win, or don't beat yourself up too bad over a loss. Man, we just have to stay consistent in our approach, and I think we have for the most part. We just have to try to figure out a way to put back-to-back games together, like I've said for a while.
with the leadership aspect and with Deshaun, and it wasn't just him, it was Ricky and then Terrence Knighton coming in, bringing some of that stuff. Was that something you guys identified after the season, that you needed some stronger voices in the locker room or stronger leadership?
I think when you're looking at free agents, obviously you look at their talent, but you also want to look at what type of physical, mental makeup they have as far as a possible leader. You know, we went out 2 years ago, got Adam Hayward for that reason. You know, he was a strong player on special teams, obviously, and a good solid linebacker, but leadership-wise, he's excellent. And then you go out and get Deshaun Golston, who, you know, has a reputation for being a good, strong leader, a good, strong person in the locker room, and those guys are important. And you have to do your background on that, and that's a bonus when you get a good player that's also a good, strong leader. It works out great. And Terrence, like you said, has been good. Ricky's been good. So, you know, that plays a big part in who we get and how we get them.
With Kirk, have you seen a change in that regard? I know we just talked about, but a change in that regard, even from last year or even early in the year, with him becoming maybe a stronger personality for the other guys?
I think when we're out here, I think everybody's so focused on the job that they have to do. I don't really pay attention to, you know, the hoorah stuff down in the locker room and all that stuff, and the pregame speeches and all that stuff. I care about the production and teaching what we want to teach them. You know what I mean? That other stuff comes naturally to players, and they all look up to Kirk, and they all look up to Deshaun. We have good, strong core leadership in this locker room. Who's the most vocal? Who's the biggest leader? I don't know. I just know that they're all doing a good job down there, and they're all rallying around each other, which is important.
All right, so not talking about the hoorah stuff, but a number of the guys we talked to referenced you keeping them on edge in practice, and wondering if you can provide any details on what was going on last week in practice and the challenge of doing it again so your message doesn't get stale.
Yeah, that's a great challenge, is trying to keep it from being stale, like you say. But I think it's just a matter of staying on these guys and making sure they practice hard and understand what's at stake here, and the importance of us getting the most out of every individual, and just continue to stay on them and working hard and running to the football on defense and finishing blocks on offense and finishing runs as a running back and finishing your routes, going through your progressions as a quarterback, special teams, everybody running down on the punts and kickoffs, and just playing fast and having fun doing it. And, you know, I don't think that's really that hard for a football player, for football coaches, to make sure your players are doing that. All our staff is very aware of that, the importance of that, and I don't think it's a problem.
Perry Fuel's had all kinds of crazy mixing and matching that he's had to do back there in the secondary. What from what you've observed has been the key for him in getting these guys coached up? What does he do that works well and makes them all fit together?
He just coaches them up. You know, he's had a wide variety of players back there from all over the joint. You know, it's nickels, corners, safeties. They've been bouncing around pretty good. But like you said, the glue's probably Deshaun Golston. You know what I mean? He keeps everybody, you know, back there aware of what's going on. And then Perry does an excellent job of just teaching. He's a great teacher. He's not a big yell at you in your face type guy. He's more of he's a great fundamental teacher. And when you have great teachers like that, Joe Barry does a good job. It makes a transition from one position to another pretty smooth. And we've had guys come in here like Will Blackman on 4 or 5 days of practice learning the whole defense. I mean, that's not easy to do, and as a coach. But Perry's obviously a very experienced guy, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring him in.
Coach, as a competitor, I'm sorry.
Whose idea was it to initially switch Dunbar, try him out, Dunbar out at defensive back? What gave you guys the idea to try him out, and whose idea was it?
Well, we saw him actually in training camp. You know, as a wide receiver, you know, it was going to be tough for him to make it numbers-wise, you know, unless it was a special team type of deal. So we tried him on special teams, you know, on the punt, trying to hold up the flyers, the gunners. And it was real long and was really good at that. And so I just put him over there. We're short on DBs one day. I just said, go over there to defensive drills with Perry and see how it goes. And we just kept him there because, you know, part of the reason we did that, we were so short. We had Breland was hurt. I think D. Hall got hurt a little bit. We had a couple other injuries there in training camp. We didn't have enough DBs hardly to practice, so we had to put him over there, and he just took it and ran with it.
Coach, as a competitor yourself, 1st of December is almost here. You guys are right in the mix, first place in the NFC East. This is why you're here, to make a push, make a run here.
Yeah, no, we're excited about it. You know, we obviously fired up to be in a position we're in. And now it's just a matter of maintaining our focus and our work and just continue to take the one game at a time, like I say, cliche-wise. But I'm proud of the team to be in this position, how hard they worked, how much they've overcome from a week-to-week basis. But but overall, we have a lot of work to do, obviously, and we're going to continue to get better, and that's our goal.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.